So here is the thing. This is the Red Wings' best goaltending prospect at the moment. Trey Augustine, out of Michigan State University in the NCAA, is 20 years old, 6'1", 194. He's a former second-round pick taken by the Wings in the 2023 NHL Entry Draft, and he just posted up a .924 save percentage in 30 games with the Michigan State University Hockey Club. He's pretty good, I'd say. Trey Augustine's got a lot of potential, and he, along with Jakub Dobeš, were ranked as some of the top goaltending prospects in hockey, over a bunch of guys who already have NHL experience to a significant capacity. So, I'd say the hype is pretty real for Trey Augustine. With this in mind, let's go over to what I think most Red Wings fans would call the second best prospect in the system. This is Sebastian Cossa, who is a former first-round pick taken 15th overall in 2021 by the same Detroit Red Wings team. Cossa is 22 years old, 6'6", 209, big guy out of the Edmonton Oil Kings in the WHL. He's a player that shocked the world by being taken first amongst goalies in 2021, in a draft class that also saw Jesper Wallstedt be available too. There was an entire debate as to who was the better goaltending prospect and who should be taken over the other, Jesper Wallstedt or Sebastian Cossa. And for a long time, Wallstedt was supposed to be that guy. Up until rumors started coming out right before the draft that Cossa could have gone higher, and then Stevie Y inevitably pulled the trigger and actually did it. We all thought that Wallstedt would be the top goalie. But now, Kossa's in a spot where, after a season in Grand Rapids where he had a .911 save percentage in 41 games, which is fine, he also had an .868 save percentage in 2 games in the playoffs. It's not all doom and gloom for Sebastian Cossa. I'd just say that right now, Trey Augustine is the higher ceiling and younger goaltender prospect. But right now, thinking about guys that are closer to the NHL than ever, thinking about guys who are going to be playing behind a pretty big tandem like Cam Talbot and John Gibson, you have Sebastian Cossa tossed into a difficult spot, and there's another team back in Western Canada that apparently might want to pounce and take advantage of that. Let's head over to this article posted on Yahoo Sports, story by the Hockey News on the Edmonton Oilers, talking about how the Oilers are eyeing a trade for a former Oil Kings goaltender. This article will be linked in the description below. It was published by Jim Parsons 3 days ago, and it dives into the Edmonton Oilers and whether or not they could be exploring a move to bolster their goaltending depth. Recent comments from team insider Bob Stouffer have sparked speculation that Red Wings prospect Sebastian Cossa might be a target. To be clear, Stouffer didn't say Kossa's name. He left it open-ended and for fans to guess. Still, it didn't take long for several fans and analysts to put the 2 and 2 together. On a recent episode of Oilers Now, Stouffer hinted the organization is looking at a goalie who, quote, hasn't gained a lot of traction with his current team, but noted that there is a connection to Edmonton. He added that the player's team also has another really good goaltending prospect, leading many to believe he was referring to Cossa, who once starred for the WHL's Edmonton Oil Kings. And linked is the video clip with Oilers Now, Bob Stouffer, 880 Ched, the August 1st show from about a week ago. I think Bob is talking about Sebastian Cossa here. Detroit has Trey Augustine passing him in the rankings now, and Cossa is a former Oil King. This is an interesting conversation to have because the Edmonton Oilers, their goaltending has taken a few tumbles over the past few years, from Jack Campbell and his total inability to show up, to Stuart Skinner and his flunks over the past few years in important playoff games. Kyle Pickard was the backup, and he wasn't really the most impressive one in certain stints. The Oilers, if they just had better goaltending, they probably would have had at least one cup in this little run here that they've had. The fact that they even got to the finals with Stuart Skinner caliber goaltending is incredible. And I'm not saying that Sebastian Cossa would solve everything in Edmonton and he would be a significant upgrade over Stuart Skinner. I mean, at the end of the day, Skinner does have significant NHL games played, and he is an experienced guy at this point. I'm not saying that Sebastian Cossa is automatically better, but there is hope, I'd say. Skinner's 26, so it's like, all right, is this guy really going to get any better? Cal Pickard is a backup, and he's already old too, so it's like the Oilers need some depth, and they need some projectability long term. Sebastian Cossa, 22 years old, you could do a lot worse than this guy. And if there was that Edmonton connection that you wanted to expand upon a little bit more, obviously, I'd say Oil Kings fans were very big fans and supporters of Cossa when he was in the area. Let's go back over onto the article here and read the rest of what Parsons writes. Cossa, 22, was a first-round pick by the Red Wings in 2021. It's not entirely clear where he sits in the eyes of GM Stevie Y and the coaching staff. That said, it appears he's lost ground in the depth chart to Trey Augustine. Cossa posted a .911 save percentage and a .245 goals against in the AHL last year, but it's unclear if he's got the makings to be a steady NHL starter. He has just one NHL game under his belt. As for what the Oilers could be willing to offer, if Schaefer is suggesting a trade being discussed, the details remain a mystery. It's hard to imagine Edmonton giving up much for an unproven goaltender who isn't likely to do much on a Red Wings team that may not be playoff bound. If Cossa has fallen out of favor in Detroit, it's logical to assume a draft pick or a different prospect might get the deal done. It seems unlikely the Oilers would trade a roster player, unless the Red Wings were willing to take on a contract like Mattias Janmark. While the deal would free up cap space and address a long-term organizational need, it may not be a move the Oilers are ready to make this summer. Janmark might not be a regular in the team's lineup, but he's likely to offer more game time in a Stanley Cup window than Cossa would. Acquiring Cossa might be appealing, but there's no guarantee he's NHL ready. Now, I would honestly agree with most of that here, the profile and the evaluation of Cossa is so difficult because he's playing in the AHL for a Red Wings team that's not really all too great, and it's not like he's really going to totally outduel Gibson and Cam Talbot this upcoming year. I mean, if he does, then okay, great, good for Cossa, but it's not guaranteed in the slightest that he does that. And also, thinking about what the trade could look like, if it's Mattias Janmark for Sebastian Cossa, I don't think the Red Wings do that. I don't think they see value in acquiring hefty contracts for middle six wingers on a team that already has a bunch of middle six guys and a lot less upfront upside. So, Mattias Janmark, of course, he does not move the needle too much. The fact that Sebastian Cossa also has that pedigree of being a former first-round pick, with all the hype in the world attached to his name back when he was selected by the Wings in 2021, I do think that plays a part into it as well. You're not going to get this guy for peanuts, you would have to shell out some value. But of course, for Edmonton, it's like, they're not trading away some significant roster players for Sebastian Cossa at this stage. Even Mattias Janmark would probably offer more game time when they make the playoffs than Sebastian Cossa would. Unless Stuart Skinner totally craps the bed and you need Cossa to step in and be the full-time guy, Artur Shilov style, this is probably not going to go down that way. Even when you think about some of the other trades, I mean, Artur Shilovs went for a fourth and Daniil Tarasov went for a middling pick. These trades aren't really big, right? So AHL caliber guys who are young don't necessarily attract the best returns. I just wonder whether or not Edmonton's willing to go a little bit higher than that so that Stevie Y could be a little happier with a trade return. But of course, all that remains to be seen whether or not Trey Augustine or Sebastian Cossa will be the top Red Wings goaltender prospect moving forward. I think a lot of folks have already pegged Augustine in as that guy. But the question is, does that make Cossa expendable, especially to a team like Edmonton? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.